Hello friends, welcome to another episode of the Test-Driven Development Screencast. My name is Jov, and the agenda of this video would be to address a bunch of the things that we had in mind in the previous episode, and then ultimately, if there is enough time, we can start working on the actual business logic. So let's see how we are gonna go about that. So a bunch of things happened meanwhile, which is one of which is I've updated my Android Studio, and now it requires an update of the plugin to Alpha 9. And also the Compose version got bumped to Beta 2, and it's also cool. So let's first start with that. And I would like to rename this one to actually use a camel case as everywhere in the project instead of having underscores. And I think we'll have to update here as well. So let's do that quickly. And I think that's good. Let's maybe now sync. See what's wrong. Oh, here. I forgot to add. Okay. And then here I'm not using specific version, so it gives me a warning. But the thing is that I'm not gonna use JUnit 4 for this project. I'm gonna use JUnit 5, and I'm gonna replace this entire dependency when I'll start working on a business logic and start writing the unit tests. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it because as I said, I'll address it later. So for now, let's see what we got with this update. So basically, I think we are good to go. So one thing that we left in the previous episode was we have a problem with running the tests. Basically, the UI test failed because it was not able to find a password field, and I realized that it was failing because of the trailing icon. So I actually reported an issue on Google. So let's maybe first look at that one. So here it is. So you can find it on the issue tracker. Here is the link, and maybe you can start it if you want. And it got prioritized as well. So basically I described here the problem that because of the trailing icon, it cannot find a node with text. So let's see, back in the code. I'm just gonna enter the presentation mode so that we can see better. So this type password call was failing because this call on node with text couldn't spot a field with hint password, with the text password in it. And if I run the test here, so I'm just gonna run all in the package. I have a running emulator here. So if you take a look, the password field was there. So I'm just gonna rerun to take a closer look. And then we can also look at a failure. So the failure says that it couldn't find a node that has text password in it. And just for you to pay close attention, look at the screen. It clearly has a password there, but it couldn't find it. So I hope that issue is gonna be it is going to be fixed. But in order to fix it now on our side, to make that work, what we can do is in our sign up screen. Oh, it's just sign up. Yeah. So here, for the password field, here in the modifier, we can actually put a test tag. And then here we can use also a string resource. And I'll say r string password. And then back in my robot, instead of on node with text, I can use on node with tag. Now I'll rerun the tests. Now it should type the password, and it did. So here we go. Now the failure is what we expect. Basically, we are expecting after sort of a successful sign up, and then after the sign up, we are expecting a timeline to be opened, like another screen, but that's not happening. That's the failure that we want. And this test will, basically the idea is that this test will pass once we complete the business logic, and hopefully in this video we can start working on that. But let's see how it goes, because I don't want to make this way too long. I mean the video. So what we can do here first is let's check this in. So basically first I would say updated will scripts, and then I'll say use a node with tag instead of a node with text for the password field. I think that's a good commit message. So back to my screen here. So basically I had a discussion with one of you that these functions now are getting a little bit too, too long, too cluttered. And what I realized is that basically this is a UI code, and it will be happening. So now I have also the code a little bit bigger because of the presentation mode. But the thing is that because this is UI code, we could actually extract some functions and we can do some improvements here. But the thing is that because this is UI code, I believe that we just have to get used to this new kind of writing. Because imagine if this was an XML, so this sign up screen would have been a bit I would expect this to be a bit way bigger. So I'll just move now the email and the password on top. So I'm gonna hoist the state here, and here I'm just gonna have a little cleaner, the rest of the code. So basically what we have here, if this was XML, we would have, let's say, linear layout with vertical orientation and then some fields inside. And that's basically what we have here. We have a column, and then we have like some other composables that are just one after another. And I think that's sort of okay. So we just have to get used to, passing this named parameters in the functions here. That's basically what bothers my eyes, at least, the most. But I think it's just a matter of getting used to. So the more I use Compose, the more I'm getting used to. It might be a good idea to actually use the same, for example, styling, the same, like, for example, when I have to pass some named arguments to put them in new line. But maybe I'm thinking that if there is only one, can stay in the same. But if there are two or more, then they can go in a new line. But okay, I think it's not that. It's just a matter of little details and a matter of tastes. I think it's okay. But and then these other functions like the screen title, for example, I don't think that I can do it any better. So it's pretty small, I guess. So of course, if like these named arguments were not there, it would have been even better. But I think they came up. I think Google came up with official guide for writing Compose. So how would you structure your code, which is also compliant with the Kotlin guidelines. So I think I'm just trying to keep them you know, to apply them, and then I think it's not that bad. And then another thing to keep in mind is that these components, like the maybe the screen title, the email field, the password field, they're all sort of reusable components, and most probably they deserve to live in a dedicated file, like separate one, and then I'll use them in another screens. Let's say in the future we're gonna have, let's say, a login screen, and then the login will have also email and password, and I'm gonna reuse these fields, of course. And that's why I think they deserve to live in another file. But until I get that evidence, until I start working on that screen, they are just used here. So I think I'm just gonna keep them here, and I'm not gonna, you know, do premature optimizations and move them somewhere else. I just want to, I neglect to do, you know, I'm trying to maximize the work not done. I don't really need to do that, so I won't do that. And yeah, so now let's maybe focus on the password, because arguably the password is really a little bit too long, and I think we can do some optimizations here. I mean, not optimizations in terms of like making it more performant, but rather making the code better. So I think this trailing icon, we can create a composable out of it. So let's maybe extract it into a function. And basically this is the visibility toggle. And then let's see. So I don't think I need a variable there. So this is visible argument that comes in. I think I'll use this one in order to change the icon, because I'm just thinking that I'm gonna have different icon for different whenever there is visible or invisible the password. So I'll use this is visible property in order to do that. But basically, because this visibility toggle is a composable that just is a clickable thing, it has different icon based on the state. What I have to expose is basically a callback when it is being clicked. So here I would say, let's say on toggle, which is gonna be just a callback lambda, and then here call it. And then whoever is calling my visibility toggle, this composable, they'll just have to implement this on toggle, basically do something on that on toggle. And that's gonna be happening here. Basically what we have to do is we just have to say is visible is going to be we just toggle the boolean. This is visible, the state of this visible, we are just changing it there. And then also I think this one, the visual transformation, is something that I can extract as a value inside of this function. So now what we have is we have a is visible, which is the state of the password field. We are hosting it here because we are using it in the trailing icon. And I'm thinking that maybe we can push it down into the visibility toggle itself. So let's see how that's gonna go. Well, first let's go through the function. See, we have the visual transformation, which is if we will need the is visible. We'll need this state for the visual transformation as well, so I couldn't really push down the state into the visibility toggle, so I have to hoist it here, which is fine. Then we have the visual transformation, then the actual field. So what we have in this field, we are just assigning values to these named argument name parameters. I think I'm not sure if I can get this any better, any smaller. I do think it is good enough. Yes, it takes entire screen, but it's good enough, I guess. And also I don't want to, you know, overspend some time on this. Because the more important and more interesting, at least for me, is the actual business logic and the going into the test driven flow of driving the business logic. So yeah. And then the last thing that I want to do is change this icon here based on the visibility. So first I'll rename this into IC visible. And also I would come up with another one, which is the invisible. It should be here. So I'm just gonna create a vector asset, and that's the one that I want. So say I see invisible. Okay. And let's see. Now I just want to align them. So because at this point I didn't pay too much attention on the themes and everything. I think that's gonna be something that I'll do at the polishing, some polishing phase that I'm gonna have like at some time later. But at this point I think it's just good enough. So now here what we can do is I can say resources if is visible to be our drawable IC invisible, else our drawable IC visible. And then here just pass the resource instead, and I think that should do. Let's I'm just gonna run again the test to make sure I didn't break anything, and that it's gonna also install the application so I can check visually. So yeah, the failure is okay, and here I can just run the app and see what actually happened. So if I type some password, it is gone, and then the toggle is also like full eyed. So if I click, it changes, which is neat, right? It just changes, and then it shows also the password. So that's actually what I wanted to accomplish. So maybe it would be nice if we add some animation here, like to animate this icon, or maybe change some alpha or something. But as I said, that's gonna be part of some polishing phase that I'm gonna have later on. At this stage, I think this is more than good enough. And now let's just maybe check this in. So I would say improved the SignUp composables and the SignUp composables, I would say, because now they just live in the SignUp. So yeah. Okay. Then I think what we can start doing next is we can do some work on the we can start with the actual business logic. So as I said before, at this point of time we have here an example unit test that is written in as we can see from the imports, it is written in JUnit 4. So if I run, so there are a bunch of things that I want to address before starting on the actual logic. The first thing is that when I run the tests, they are running with Gradle, and that's something that started happening in this version of the studio. I mean, in this sort of canary version of the studio, because previously in the settings of the Android Studio, here in the build, execution, and deployment inside the build tools Gradle, basically this path here on top, there was an option to select how do you want your tests to be run, like whether the studio to run them or you want Gradle to run them. Now, as we can see, there is no option here. So what I came up with is a configuration for running the tests. So it's here called micro tests, and then that's how I can actually run the tests with the studio. Now you may ask why I don't want to run the tests with Gradle. Basically because it takes more time to run them. So that's really the problem. But on the other hand, I couldn't run the tests using IntelliJ on my continuous delivery system. So I should be able to also run them from the terminal, and the command should be, let's go back into presentation mode so you can see better. So if I open the terminal here, as we can see here, the command is Gradle test debug, and this should be also able to run the tests. All right, so that's cool. But as I said previously, this is all okay, except we don't want to use JUnit 4 to run the tests. So we want JUnit 5, of course. So here I have dependencies for JUnit 5. Let me just paste them quickly. So what we have here is JUnit Jupyter API, and I'm also gonna put the params. Of course, I might not need the params right away, and I might wait until I really need the params to add this dependency. But the thing is that this is test implementation, so it's sort of okay to just add them right now because I'm sure that I'll use the params. So that's it. Let's maybe sync first, and then see if we can run the tests again. So back to our, actually I'm just gonna close this one because it's now synced. Now if I try to run this test, it will fail because there is a compilation error, although it is not showing here. I don't know why, but basically it couldn't find these imports because they are part of JUnit 4, which is no longer existing. So let's maybe import now these two, which are part of the JUnit Jupyter, which is the JUnit 5, of course. And now if I run, it says that test events were not received. Basically, it couldn't find the tests, which is pity. But if I select here my micro tests, it's gonna run. I expect it to work. Yeah. So as we can see here, it works. But we are not solving here the problem because as I said, on our continuous integration, Gradle will run the tests, and as we can see here, there is no test that was run. We have a build successful, but the test was not run. And if you remember, back in our, let me just open. Back in our Gradle file, we have a setup here for the tests that it's gonna print no matter what, all the tests that it found and it ran. Whether they are passing, failing, whatever, it should tell us the status, but here we saw nothing. So how to fix that is by using here, by calling a function that is use JUnit platform, and then let's sync. I hope I don't have mistake with in the call of this function. And then if I run, exactly, now we can see the result of the actual test that was run, and that's what I want. So Gradle can run the tests and the micro tests, which is great. And I can also run them with I can run also with the actual setup that I have for the studio to run them on the JVM of the Android Studio, so they're gonna run fast. So that's great. And basically now let's check this in. Setup for JUnit 5. Yeah, that's fine. And basically now we can start working on the actual business logic of the sign up. But the thing is that I think we are almost at some 25 minutes in, and if I start working right now on the business logic, at least I would like to write the acceptance test, and that's gonna take me a little bit long, I expect. So maybe it would be because I'm gonna have some explanation on the way, and that's gonna make the video a bit too long. So I think maybe let's leave it as a first thing on the other on the next episode. So I think now we have a really solid ground to start working on the actual business logic. So for the next video, we are starting on the actual sign up, and I think we are gonna use, let's say, outside in, but there are some things that I want to try with the screencast. Basically, I would like to do the outside in approach, but I don't want to use mocks. So I'm just curious. I'm just investigating. I'm curious how that's gonna go. I really think that's gonna be very interesting and very cool, because there won't be basically mocks, and the tests are gonna run super fast because there won't be any mocking libraries. But on the other hand, we are driving the design from outside inwards. So that's gonna be a bit cool, I think. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the next episode to start working on this. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.